I present you with this message because I'm concerned with the way the world is developing. I stand with Russia. I know you've been told Russia's bad. I know you've been told Russia invaded Ukraine. I know you've been told Russia downed the MH17. I'm here to tell you that those are malicious lies. Western audiences have been consistently told anti-Russian propaganda to get them on board with a confrontational and highly dangerous politics which could take Europe, Russia, and ultimately Europe's Western partners and Russia's BRICS partners on the road towards the unthinkable. Ever since the actual coup d'etat, which took place on February 22nd in Kiev, Ukraine last year, Western media have been cynically deceiving their own publics, including the alleged invasion of Crimea. I don't have enough time here to tell you about all the details which the Western media have been lying to their publics about. I could advise you to go check out New Landistan, made by Global Research, and related videos made by Storm Clouds Gathering, which are all available on YouTube. When you start seeing the mass media demonizing the leader of a geopolitically important nation, the question you should ask yourself is, what is actually at stake here? Let's backtrack things. Following 9/11, the United States launched two aggressive wars, one in Afghanistan and one in Iraq. The war in Iraq saw over 1 million dead civilians and created a big power vacuum. The US ensured its oil revenues. Russia was still too weak back then, following the fall of the Soviet Union. A few years back, another country, Libya, fell into mayhem after the US-backed Al-Qaeda rebels brought the regime down after the UN established a no-fly zone. Libya, which once was called the Switzerland of Africa, fell into ruins. In 2013, there were plans to do the same thing to Syria, and the US would have complete control of the oil-rich Middle East. Something had changed by then, however. Russia was now strong, and they could question the casus belli put forward by the United States to subject Syria to bombardment. And Russia could ultimately thwart the United States' plans for regime change. However, the US-backed al-Nusra Front remained, which together with the power vacuum created by the Iraq War, most plausibly make up the basis for ISIS. Russia put an obstacle to the expansionist regime change policy of the United States. They have helped Syria and Iran maintain sovereignty. This is why the Maidan coup was staged, to set up an anti-Russia in Europe, to deprive Russia of its Crimean naval base from which they could help Syria, and to drive a wedge between Europe and Russia. Russia, through its BRICS partners, China, India, Brazil, and South Africa is presenting an alternative to the United States' belligerent regime change policy, consisting in expanding trade far from sanctions, building third world nations, and establishing intercontinental infrastructure projects such as the Silk Road to stretch from China all the way to Portugal. Russia has powerful enemies in the West who will much rather have you think that Russia is not the authoritarian dystopia run by a dictator than hear anything about the Silk Road. About a century ago, Europe sank into a nightmare made possible by the creation of alliances antagonizing each other. I say, let's take a step back. A step back from economic, diplomatic, and political confrontation. Put pressure on both parts in Ukraine to lay down arms. Put pressure on both parts to suspend the ludicrous sanctions and let free trade commence again. Let the BRICS project for peace and prosperity flourish. Therefore, I stand with Russia.